Good morning. Welcome to the Countdown to Lake Placid video series. We are now 24 weeks out from race day. And as a quick reminder, this video series is not a how to train for an Ironman, but rather is about the week to week rhythms of training, what we have to overcome, and just a reminder that we're all in this thing together. We also have some experience on this course, so we, at the end of the videos, are also going to be providing just some basic tips to keep in mind while you're training. And today we're going to be talking about something that we're going to be focused on for the swim course. Something in particular that was a change from last year that we are going to be paying very close attention to in the race briefings. So let's get into it. Week in review. I'm not going to go through these one by one, but if you've seen any of the other videos, you can just zoom in if you're curious about what training looks like for me specifically. But this was a good, solid week of training for me. I hit all the days that I wanted to hit. I didn't have to juggle anything around. I didn't have anything come up that hindered me from training. So this was a good, solid Sunday through Friday. I am, as those who have followed for a little while here, I am still trying to get my Thursday night rides in. That's kind of where I'm trying to find some extra trainer time, and it's going well. Probably at the end of February, I'm going to be looking to find even more. So I think I'm going to land at maybe like a Tuesday, Thursday night bike session schedule, and that will probably end up just increasing over time. But I'm not quite there yet. But very happy with kind of the balance right now with training. From the standpoint of intensity, which we touched on a little bit last week, we actually had some homework from last week. We wanted to play the intensity game. So we asked everyone to say, hey, listen, jump on the treadmill, jump on the trainer. Don't look at any of your data and see if you can guess where you are. Guess your data and then check yourself. I was on the bike trainer on Thursday night and took a look at my data. I guessed and I was way off. I was about 20 heartbeats per minute off. So, but listen, that's the point of doing it because you got to hone in by race day. Thankfully, we're still 24 weeks out, so still plenty of time to get it right, get it honed in. But I'm going to keep playing that game. I think you guys should too because you never know when you're going to lose that data on race day or something becomes disconnected, and then you're just going to have to go by feel. So get in touch with your RPE, get in touch with how things are feeling, and you'll be in a much more confident position on race day. Also, from an intensity standpoint, I just wanted to touch on. I've had some questions about where I'm putting my intensity as far as the workouts go. So philosophically, I swim with some intensity all the time. I'm going to go through this entire training year with a fairly intense swim schedule that's putting higher intensity intervals into my swim. I am just now, or have in the last 2 weeks, started to add some intensity to my bike. Prior to that, I was just purely aerobic. And running at this point, I'm still keeping it purely aerobic, and I am going to, frankly, until May. I have a rescheduled trail run that is happening on Memorial Day weekend this year, and trail running is just so slow from an aerobic standpoint that I'm just going to keep the base miles going. And frankly, running is where you can get hurt anyway, and I do tend to break down pretty quickly while running, so I think it's going to suit me well just to stick to those easier base miles as I'm running throughout the season, and then maybe start to pick some things up in June, kind of slightly before the Ironman in July. But that's my schedule, and that's just because of all the other races that I'm balancing in the lead up. Okay, quickly on to next week, and this weekend in particular, I just wanted to share. I'm not training this weekend. I do not have any swim bike runs scheduled. I'm actually going to be skiing with my dad. Um, uh, we have done this in years past in the lead up to the Ironman Lake Placid. Taking some time in February has worked out really well for my wife and I. We start training in November, and November starts the holidays right through December. It's a grind. January, now you're inside, and having a little bit of a break in February is nice. So we're going to be skiing twice this year, 2 full weekends without swim, bike, run. Instead, we'll be skiing. So there is a workout there. There's certainly a leg workout, work the muscles a little bit differently. And it actually has worked out pretty well uh, in years past. I think it's just a good mental break. You do, of course, lose a little bit on your swim, bike, run, but the rhythms of our family is we kind of have a little bit of a breather in February. And then when the kids are on spring break in April, we have another little break. We usually do a road trip with the kids. We don't bring the bikes, but we'll swim and we'll run during that time. And then from April straight through to July, then it's really on. So to have a little mental break in February, to have a little mental break in April is really nice because especially as we're kind of inside in these winter months, the grind is ever present, as you all know right now. So skiing this weekend, having a little bit of a breakaway, but then we are back next week to start back to consistent training on Monday. Okay, now on to some a tip about the swim course. All right, and we are back here with the Ironman Lake Placid swim course. You all are probably already familiar with this, so I'm not going to talk too much about the course. But bottom line here, a couple of the big hitter items here are: number one, does not swim in Lake Placid. It swims in Mirror Lake, which is kind of the body of water directly alongside the downtown strip in Lake Placid. It is an amazing swim venue. If you get up there before the race, you can swim anytime. There's no motorboats. It is just a phenomenal place to swim. This is a 2-loop course with an Australian exit. Swims clockwise. Start at the beach, go out, around, back in, Australian, one more time, and then down to the Olympic Oval for transition. But that's not really what I'm here to tell you all about today. The big thing on this course, and many people sign up for this race because of this, is this swim venue is actually on a rowing venue, and there is a cable placed underneath the water that all of these buoys are attached to. It's a small metal wire, maybe 6 feet underneath the water, and you can see it very clearly when swimming either on top of it or kind of close to it. You can very easily see it, which means if you see this cable, you do not have to sight. You can just swim and take a look at it just like a lane line in a pool. And it makes a huge difference. And a lot of people are kind of aiming for swimming directly over that cable. You can only see it from if you're over the top of it or maybe just a few feet on either side. So what it does lead to is some congestion. But what I wanted to give everybody a heads up on today is something that was new, or my first time experiencing it last year. First, I've done this course 5 times. The first 4 times I've done it, you were always allowed to swim on the inside of these guide buoys if you wanted to. Remember, the cable is directly underneath these guide buoys, so people tend to cluster here. So some people are on the inside, some people are just on the outside, some people are dead on the line. The only, in years past, the only buoys that you were required to go on the outside of were the red turn buoys, located at the far end of the course and then on the final turn back into the beach. There was something different though last year. Last year, you were not allowed to swim on the inside of any of these guide buoys. We heard this at the race briefing. I did not think about it at all. I thought it would not make a difference whatsoever, but I was very wrong. So what actually happened on race day is we knew we had to swim on the outside of these buoys, but everyone is fighting and jockeying for position over the cable because that's the easiest way to swim this course. It's just directly on top of this cable under the water, so you don't have to sight. What happened though was as people bunch up, some bunch up on the inside and some bunch up on the outside. And as you come up to the buoy, right, now everybody has to go around the buoy. So what it actually made for was every one of these guide buoys, which in the past hadn't been an issue at all, they became kind of like turn buoys. They became very congested, and you were all of a sudden bottlenecking at almost every buoy. And then to make it a little bit more challenging, there were they were enforcing this with kayaks lined up perpendicular to the line of travel right next to the buoy. So they were really enforcing it. They, that people were not to be swimming on the inside, which is a good thing. But what it really meant was there was a lot of congestion at all the guide buoys and the turn buoys, which I'll be honest for myself made the swim a lot harder. It was challenging. So I'm only sharing this with you because I didn't think anything of it in the race briefing last year. I just said, okay, no problem, and it'll be just like always. Well, it really wasn't. So I am going to be going to the race briefings, just like you all are too, and I will tell you 100% if they are not going to allow people to swim on the inside of the buoys, I am fully expecting everybody who's swimming on the cable, every one of these guide buoys is going to get congested again. And if that's the case, my wife and I are both competing. We're going to swim on the outside of the cable. Definitely. We're going to just stay on the outside of the buoys and just stay out of the melee. It got a little bit, it got congested, and it made for, at least in my opinion, a tougher swim. I think some people probably made it through just fine. Maybe it was just my position, but I'll tell you, if you still have to swim on the outside of those guide buoys, I'm not going to bother with the cable at all, and I'm just going to swim wide along the whole course. So that was my tip for the day. That's what I wanted to share with you. That's something that I'm certainly going to be looking for during the race briefings. And if they're not going to allow anyone to swim on the inside, that's totally fine. I'm just going to swim outside. I'm going to swim off the cable, stay out of the big cluster of people, and have a probably easier swim. Okay, great. Thank you. So we are moving into, we are 24 weeks out, but we're moving into another week of training here. Good luck. I keep saying there's a long way to go. There is still a long way to go, but these weeks are climbing down. And next time we touch base, we're going to be only 23 weeks out. So good luck training this week. Stay consistent. It is February. Don't hesitate to take a little bit of a break, at least a mental break if you can. And good luck in your training, and we will see you next week.